Hubble Space Telescope has provided images of the universe like never before, and one of the most iconic images came in 2009 when a renowned newspaper, the Weekly World News, made a startling revelation. The paper claimed NASA had discovered evidence of a new civilization in space, captured during routine space observations. This revelation sent shockwaves globally, leaving world leaders, scientists, and religious communities both terrified and intrigued. Despite the uproar, NASA remained silent for years until recently, when they finally disclosed astonishing new details about the discovery. This mystery, which pitted faith and science against each other, has captivated enthusiasts and skeptics alike. The story began in 1996 with reports claiming NASA's Hubble telescope had captured an image of a glowing, massive city in space, believed by some to be heaven. The article featured claims by a researcher, Mara Masson, who alleged access to a top-secret photo from 1994. The image showed a bright structure with towers, domes, and watchtower-like shapes surrounded by brilliant, winged figures. Masson's claims included advanced computer simulations suggesting this mysterious city remained at the universe's center, while Earth and other planets drifted away. This stirred intense debate, further fueled by claims of presidential involvement and demands for updates on the findings. NASA denied the photo's existence, but public curiosity only deepened as Weekly World News threatened to publish the image. NASA's response brought skepticism about whether they were withholding a monumental discovery. Amid the controversy, NASA recounted the Hubble telescope's journey. Launched in 1990, it initially faced challenges due to a flawed mirror, resulting in blurry images. Scientists resolved this by installing corrective optics, revitalizing Hubble's capacity to capture unprecedented cosmic detail. By 1994, with repairs completed, Hubble began capturing groundbreaking images. In one ambitious project, it focused on a seemingly empty sky patch for 10 days, revealing faint, distant objects in unparalleled detail. During this time, an extraordinary photograph emerged, allegedly showing a shiny city floating in space. As NASA analyzed the image, it became an enigma. Public access to Hubble's web server exacerbated the issue, leading to rapid online dissemination of the photograph despite government efforts to classify it. Amidst the uproar, other photographers reportedly captured similar images, fueling global intrigue. This tale of a gleaming city in space left many questioning NASA's role in unveiling or concealing the universe's mysteries. As investigations and revelations continued, the discovery exemplified the intersection of scientific exploration, public imagination, and existential wonder about the extraordinary structure captured in them. But before they were even done with their investigations, many religious folks had jumped to the conclusion that this celestial structure was heaven, otherwise called the City of God, which they believed was the dwelling place of departed souls. However, the NASA researchers were far more skeptical of these notions. They knew they needed to approach this discovery with a rigorous scientific mindset, so they continued in their search for answers. But while they investigated, other astronomers noticed that, interestingly, this acclaimed city had a striking resemblance to another cosmic object, the Red Rectangle Nebula. The Red Rectangle, or HD 44179 as it's officially called, has always been a real head-scratcher for researchers. According to these experts, at first glance through regular telescopes, it looks like a reddish rectangular shape in the sky. But when the Hubble got a good look at it, things got a whole lot more complicated. As the images transmitted revealed, it appeared like a ladder-like structure with projections extending outward in a crazy web-like pattern, giving it the appearance of a series of nested wine glasses filled to the brim with glowing cosmic gas. To investigate, some really observant scientists decided to closely study the image in search of clues that could be helpful in solving this mystery. By this time, the City of God story was a public sensation, so the NASA team knew they had to get to the bottom of this once and for all. It wasn't long before they noticed something was off about the image. If you've ever seen real Hubble images before, you will notice they have this very distinctive visual signature. Those long radial spikes emanating from any bright objects in the frame. These Hubble spikes are proof of how mirror-based telescopes work. When light enters the telescope, it interacts with the long support struts holding the secondary mirror in place. This causes the light to diffract, creating those elongated spike patterns. The number and arrangement of the spikes are consistent, always lining up at neat 90 degrees angles. But in this supposed city of God image, the spikes were all over the place, not symmetrical. That was the first big tip-off to the NASA investigators that something wasn't right. They realized this couldn't be an authentic Hubble shot, but rather some digital manipulation or imitation, since the diffraction pattern is like a fingerprint that distinguishes real Hubble images from fakes. Further investigation confirmed their suspicions. This sensational City of God image was not the result of groundbreaking new observations from the famous Space Telescope, and so with this finding, they arrived at the conclusion that the viral news and image were simply an elaborate hoax, likely created by someone adept at photo editing to generate buzz and misinformation. And guess what? They were right, it was all made up. Let me shock you. This was not the first time people were selling false news of what they claimed NASA had discovered. Sometime in 2014, another celestial image circulated on the internet, and when it was investigated, the person behind the image was discovered to be Adam Ferris. Adam Ferris is an artist who works with digital images. He is known for his unique way of working with photos from space telescopes. One of his most famous projects is called 500 Years Away. He created this series between 2012 and 2014. In that series, Ferris took images from space telescopes and ran them through his own special computer software. Interestingly, one of the images from this series got many astounded, as it looked like a photo representation of the gates of heaven in space. But just like you would rightly guess, the image was a pure work of digital manipulation. The original image Ferris used was a photo of a space cloud called the Omega Nebula or Swan Nebula, taken by the European Southern Observatory in 2011. Upon investigation, it was discovered that he used a certain software to rearrange the pixels of this nebula image, and whatever manipulation he did resulted in this false gate of heaven. Spread the news. Now back to the main gist. Since NASA had confirmed that the purported image of the City of God was fake, experts had to trace the story back to where it was originally heard from. And where else were they to check if not the Weekly World News, where the news originally came from? So first, they decided to do a little fact and background check. To begin with, people who were really interested in the case asked those involved, the reporter Dr. Masson and those NASA insiders she claimed gave her the information, to come forward with evidence. But to their utmost surprise, none of them did. That was when suspicions skyrocketed, pushing them to dig deep into the background of this newspaper. Well, let's just say their next finding shocked them even more than the fake press release that was made. This is the part no one saw coming. Their second shock came when they discovered that the Weekly World News was a tabloid notorious for featuring the most outlandish and often entirely fictional news stories one could imagine. And the false report about NASA, unfortunately, was one of them. Its content revolved around supernatural, paranormal, and satirical themes that seemed to defy logic and reality. In another report, these same people claimed that aliens had officially endorsed a particular presidential candidate during an election campaign. Before that release, they were fond of frequently telling false stories of extraterrestrial beings interacting with humans. But this particular instance took it to new heights of absurdity. As if that wasn't enough, they repeatedly reported sightings of Elvis Presley, even though he had died in 1977. These stories claimed that Elvis was very much alive and well, often being spotted at various locations around the world. To lend credibility to these claims, the tabloid would publish photographs and so-called eyewitness accounts to support the Elvis sightings, just like they did in NASA's case. In another instance, they claimed that a group of hikers had stumbled upon a baby alien in the New Mexico desert. According to the story, this extraterrestrial infant was found inside a crashed spaceship and was subsequently taken to a secret government facility for examination. But they went on. At another time, they wrote a whole column telling the story of a woman who gave birth to a 12-pound cockroach after being bitten by a radioactive cockroach. Did they come up with any plausible explanation for the mystery image that caused this large ruckus? The next chapter will reveal that. So let's find out the truth about NASA's Hubble space discovery. Now to the part we've all been waiting for. With the truth revealed, while waiting for NASA's official statement in this regard, astronomers stepped in to explain what the image truly could be. In an interview with CNN, a meteorologist said that those images may have been caused by a phenomenon called a fata morgana. A fata morgana is an optical illusion that can make things look different than they really are. This happens when light bends as it passes through layers of warm and cold air. For example, a fata morgana can make ships look like they are floating above the water, or it can distort shapes on the horizon, making them look weird and unnatural. Thank you for joining us on this episode. Also, don't forget to air your views in the comments section. Before you log off, kindly like, subscribe, and share this video to help us.